is, as you see, a very simple play. If you ask me, a rather dull play. But you have no idea how much it excites the rustic audiences who like to see drawn swords and golden crowns and princes and princesses living happily ever afterwards. Anyhow, you would say, an old-fashioned, common, romantic melodrama. One of 100, you may say. Quite conventional. Did you notice anything peculiar about the play?
I rather think I did, but I would rather hear your own explanation of it. As St. Thomas said, authority is in the author, and though he was a Dominican,
I wrote the play for a bet. I won the bet. I did not, incidentally, win the money. Because, to tell the truth, I made the bet with an itinerant artist like myself. He was a showman with a very popular and successful set of puppets. And his plays were infested with villains. They depended entirely on villains. Whenever the heroine was doubtful about the hero, up jumped the most valuable villain with a tactful taste for poison or a diplomatic dagger. And then she knew the hero was the hero. It seemed as though all virtue were really produced by villains. Well, he bet me I could not make a play without villains. That was easy. Let me make up the conditions, and the most virtuous person may act or appear as a villain. But I swore I would do something more than that. I swore I would make a whole play, not only of good people, but of good actions. In that play, not only is there not a single villain, but there is not a single deed of villainy.
yes, I noticed that.
I do not mean you are bound to approve the prudence of everything that is done. The princess is not above some sort of practical joke, so long as it is really practical. Mademoiselle Marguerite puts obedience even before sacrifice, and sacrifice before sanity. You may not approve of the dynastic marriages like that to which the king was pledged, but the king did. He shrank from his duty, but he never doubted it. In short, I mean, they all behaved handsomely, according to their lights. They were all at their best. Everyone behaved well. That's why the play was rather short.
Do you mean merely that men do not go on being at their best?
Yes, but not only that, because each acts rightly, each acts rapidly, and they swiftly attain their end. And so the play reaches its end also. Anyhow, as I say, a simple plot, a simple solution. You may say even simple ideals. And then...
Were you going to say they were simple characters?
Ah, that is the burning light. That is the light in which things turn transparent. Now I know what was right when I said you could read the heart.
I know what you desire. I do not call it very blamable, though some would call it blasphemy. Whether it were possible is another thing.
Father, if you know my secret, you will know why it was that I asked you for a miracle.
Because the people in your play are not truly simple people.
You see, I knew them. I knew them very well. I have met that troubadour in 20 taverns, or tramping 20 roads. I was with the army at Alcalá and saw the victories of Fontarabia. Believe me, they are not all simple characters, though they appear for a moment in a very simple story. They are very passionate, very complex complicated, very real people, capable of 1,000 other things, besides the things they have to do on this stage. Only it all moves swiftly and smoothly, and is soon over, because they do right. When a clock is right, you do not bother about the clockwork, you only look at the face and hands. While a servant is a good servant, you hardly notice that you have a servant. And so these very real people flash past you in a few moments, and they seem unreal, because they only do right.
Do you want them to do wrong?
No, no. They could do right. They would do right. They have it in them to do exactly as they do in the play. These people I know so well. They have it in them, and yet they have nothing in them.
You are not content when they do right, but you do not want them to do wrong. What do you want them to do?
I want them to be and not to do. I want them to exist.
You were saying that you knew them intimately.
I know them down to their vitals, and they do not exist. You have come on it at last, on the tragedy of the author.
Of the human author, perhaps.
Father, where are these people? I know them better than my father and my mother. But where are they? Not in their own bodies. They are only clocks, which I fill myself with clockwork. Not, as my fashionable friend and puppet master would say, in the minds of the public. Heavens, no. My public, his public, any public, only sees a king behaving in a kingly way, and a poet in a poetical way. And then it is all over. Lucky if it realizes some of the things I tell about these children of mine, let alone the things I know about them and do not tell. And then, of course, you will say...
Shall I?
You will say that they exist in my mind. Ah, that is the tragedy of the author indeed. Why? They only existed because I wanted to get them out of my mind. I wanted them separated from me and my life, and living lives quite different, and entirely their own. And so, after all, they are. Have I a great hog and armour of a soldier in my mind? A considerable burden that would be. Am I a princess? Can you look at me as man to man and say that I'm a delicate and sensitive lady-in-waiting with a turn for religion? In creating these personalities was to put them away from me, to put them a long way off where I could look at them from outside. But where have I put them? They exist. They have minds of their own. Why have they not got wills of their own?
Ah, you want them to have wills of their own.
Remember, Father, that I began by asking you if you could work a miracle?
And I began by telling you that no man can work a miracle. But to some men, there has been granted a sign.
Father, these people deserve to be alive. They are everything else except alive. They are intelligent, complex, combative, brilliant, bursting with life. And yet they are not alive. You do not answer. Perhaps there is no answer. But indeed, and most truly, there is a very interesting question. I see these people from within as many-sided, full of possibilities, capable of figuring in 100 different pots and pans. I am familiar with the secrets of each. Do you know that the young critics of the conventions of the stage are often very conventional critics? For instance, all your critics who talk of real life will say that my romantic ending is quite unreal. They will say that the princess and the poet, or the soldier and the saint, would hardly last out the honeymoon. They are wrong. And I know these people much better than they do. The princess, though she has her faults, more faults than they know or can guess from the play, really does care about justice and the right ruling of things for the poor. And she is the first princess who ever had a poor man for prime minister. To the king, war really is poetical, a thing of pageants and cavalcades, like great frescoes or tapestries. The princess really does want to rule the